Okay, this is another family music hour with my daughter Caitlin and myself, Ricky. uh, and this week, in light of the passing away of Tom Petty, we decided to change the format a little bit and do a Petty cast.
Yep, Petty podcast.
Petty podcast.
Petty
It's
cast.
almost like is that a pedicure? No, no. I could get a mani pedi. No, so a pedicast, I guess. And so we each chose 3 songs of quite a long career and a long catalog, a big catalog of songs, huh?
Yeah.
And gosh, he was such a colorful guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I don't know too much about his personal life, really, to say that.
Yeah, it was. If you get a chance, watch that documentary on Netflix.
I do need
that's
to
been
do
out.
that. I do need to watch that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He was, his personality kind of belied his persona a little bit. He was very driven early in life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just musically?
Musically, and then when he would find somebody he liked, that he wanted in the band, he really went after him.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he really he was from Gainesville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Gator, and he ran into musicians or stumbled on musicians around that area and whatnot, and he had to go. I don't remember the whole thing, but it seems like one of the guys that he really, really wanted in his band that he stumbled on was going off to I think it was a fairly prestigious school, and he went in and sold his father, the guy's father, on him not going to that school.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So it's pretty.
It's kind of manipulative.
It was kind of. I mean, he was just very driven. If he found somebody that he thought fit real well with him, he just really wanted them.
That's funny.
And even though he wasn't Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers yet.
Right.
He was just a guy playing garage bands, really.
He's still able to have that kind of pull.
Yeah, surprisingly.
That's funny.
Isn't that crazy?
It is
So
crazy.
what are the 3 songs that you chose this week?
Let's see. I stuck to one album. We didn't have to though, but I stuck to the Wildflower album, and I chose Wildflowers, You Don't Know How It Feels, and You Wreck Me.
You Wreck Me.
All great
Mine's actually
songs.
from one album too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The anthology. Well, I think it's a dual album, anthology album. And mine are. Let's see, what are there? Free Fallin'. You just about can't do one without Free Fallin'.
Right.
Breakdown, and Mary Jane's Last Dance. I wanted to do a couple others, but they've been done to death kind of lately since he passed away.
Yeah.
Like I Won't Back Down type songs, but he's got so many, it's hard not to find some good ones.
And they're
in
just
there.
all so good. I haven't heard one that I didn't like.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were like a lot of other bands for a period of time. They just played them to where you didn't want to hear them anymore.
Right.
And so I kind of fell out of love with them back in the 90s.
Yeah, that happens.
But this reintroduced me to how good a songwriter he really was.
Well, and I mean, you got back into them eventually. I mean, we used to listen to them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of one of those things how they find something, the music industry finds something, and they're like, oh, you like this? Well, we've got
We're gonna shove it
we've
down
got a
your
lot
throat
more of
then.
this. Yeah, we're going to just shove this down your throat every 15 minutes. and that's kind of what they did with that. And so you don't forget that, really.
Right.
As much as you love something when they do that, you don't like it almost as much when they do that.
Right.
And so, but I really did appreciate his ability to write a good song.
Yeah. And I mean, it just kind of came naturally to him, I think.
Yeah, he was driven to do it.
Yeah.
Once you see that documentary, you'll see some of that stuff come out. There's a couple of other little tidbits. Was I don't know if you know King of the Hill, that cartoon King of the
yeah.
Hill. And he did the voice for Lucky.
Which one was Lucky?
Lucky was the hapless boyfriend of Luann.
Okay. Really? That's funny.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
That's really
and,
funny.
and they it kind of has his likeness, really, a little bit.
Oh, wait, yeah, wasn't he a blonde guy?
Yeah, he's blonde. He kind of Tom had kind of a weak chin.
Yeah.
And Lucky's was kind of accentuated.
That's really funny. I need to go back and
but yeah.
watch that for him.
I know. Yeah, you have to go back and play some now. You're like, I'll be darned. I can't believe I didn't know that. Yeah, you know, he was a typical guy in that he had a band like in the 9th grade called the Sundowners.
Okay.
And then he joined another band right out of high school, I think, or just before the end of high school. I can't remember the name of it. I remember him thinking, he said this was a much better band because it had girls.
Really?
Yeah. And then they formed the with his friends, you know, the ones that many of these became the Heartbreakers. They called themselves the Mudcrutch Band.
Name.
Yeah, I know, what a name. And they got an album deal. I mean, that was they did it on the outskirts. They did it in the house on the outskirts of Gainesville. And they'd have like a festival out there, just them. And so it was
just them
interesting.
playing the festival?
Just them. Yeah, but, you know, they hadn't. I mean, festival really hadn't been thought of, but that's, you know, they had like some acreage out there, and one of the guys in the band had a house out there, or their father had a house out there, so they just kind of did that.
That's funny.
So it was pretty cool. So on this pity podcast, why don't you start us off with your one of your songs?
Okay. I think I'll start with Wildflowers.
Okay, let's do
All
it.
right.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill off the hours. You belong somewhere you feel free. Run away, find you a lover. Go away somewhere all bright and new. I have seen no other who compares with you. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. You belong with your love on your arm. You belong somewhere you feel free. Run away, go find a lover. Run away, let your heart be your guide. You deserve the deepest of cover. You belong in that home by and by. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere close to me, far away from your trouble and worry. You belong somewhere you feel free. You belong
Okay, so that was Wildflowers.
That was Wildflowers. What'd you think?
Well, I don't remember that song, but I liked
That's
it.
crazy to me that you don't remember that.
I-
To me, that was such
I
a
know,
huge,
there-
petty song.
There's a lot of songs that are petty
Yeah.
songs. Yeah, I don't remember that one, but listening to it and reading people's comments from others that were listening to it on different social media platforms, a lot of people like that song.
I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah. So it was yeah. So it's interesting how you can discover a new song from a person that's been around a long time, or a song that you didn't know is new to you.
Right. Yeah, and I couldn't really find anything deep on it. I found that he said he wrote it in like 3.5 minutes, just sang it into a tape recorder.
Oh,
And it just
really?
came out straight like that. And he kept coming back to the tape thinking like, oh, there's got to be something wrong with it that it came out like that. And he was eventually was just like, nope, that's how it should be.
I think Tom was a perfectionist.
I'm sure.
I saw a thing on one of the documentaries. There's lots of documentaries out there about Tom. More coming, I'm sure, as the days go
Right.
by. But at one point, and I can't remember what songs they were doing, and this was much further along in their career. But they didn't have a production guy at the time, and so they were just pretty much drugs had entered the band.
Mm-hmm.
And since they didn't have a producer, they just sit around and let drugs do what drugs do. And so it's something that normally takes a few months to do. They had been producing for like a couple of years. And so anyway, Tom was listening to what they currently were doing that they worked on for many, 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 many months. And then he went back and listened to the original one they'd put down, and he liked it better.
The one that they done without the producer.
The one that they had done when they originally laid it down, like as a rough
Oh, okay.
thing. And he said, "How could we not be better than this when I like the first one better than this after we've been working on this so long?" And he got so angry, he hit the wall
Oh my gosh.
with his fist. Anyway, it shattered his hand.
Oh my gosh.
And according to the documentary I was watching, that he didn't know if he'd ever be able to play the guitar again.
Wow. He just got so angry that he did that.
Yeah, and so and 9 months later, until he could, he had to put some wires in there and a whole bunch of other stuff in his hand too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think he was a bit of a perfectionist, or maybe the drugs were fueling him to hit the wall. I'm not sure, but probably a little bit of
Yeah,
both.
a little bit of both.
The song that I'd like to start off with on my end is Free Fallin', because I think a lot of people recognize that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know about Tom Petty wrote this with Jeff Lynne. And I don't know if you know who Jeff Lynne is, but Jeff Lynne was the first band I ever saw in concert. Was Jeff Lynne was in that band.
Oh, really? What band was it?
ELO. It's called Electric Light Orchestra. ELO. Yeah.
Okay.
He also Jeff Lynne's probably a musical genius as well.
Really? I need to listen to
Yeah.
that band. That's such
Yeah,
an ELO.
ELO. I hadn't listened to their music since then, but Jeff Lynne, again, super bright with that. But I remember he wrote that song. Tom Petty's band was kind of out of town,
Mhm.
the Heartbreakers. So Tom Petty took that opportunity to write this song or get together with Jeff Lynne.
Well, apparently he did a couple of albums without the Heartbreakers. The Wildflowers
Yeah, he did.
album was without the Heartbreakers, and
who? What was it called then? Was that the Wilburys? The Traveling
I think it
Wilburys?
was just him and like another
Oh, okay.
guy. I can't remember.
Well, you remember? Do you ever look into the Traveling Wilburys? Well, yeah, it was him. It was like a super group, right? Again, that was, like you said, that was kind of in the middle of when they were doing great too. And so it was him, Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, and I think it was George Harrison.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, they formed a group. It was a thing.
That's crazy. I need to listen to that.
Yeah. And then Roy Orbison, I think right when they were catching on, he died.
Oh God.
And so it was one of those things. But yeah. Anyway, so let's give that a spin. Let's play.
Free Falling.
Let's play Free Falling.
All right.
She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus in America too. She's a good girl, is crazy about Elvis, loves horses and her boyfriend too. And it's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart. Now I'm free, free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. Now the vampires walking through the valley move west down Ventura Boulevard, and all the bad boys are standing in the shadows, and the good girls are home with broken hearts. I'm free, I'm free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. Free falling now, free falling now. Free falling now, free falling. I wanna glide down over Mulholland. I wanna ride her name in the sky. I'm gonna free fall out into nothing. Gonna leave this world for a while. I'm free falling now, free falling now, free falling now, free falling. Yeah, I'm free falling now, free falling, free falling, falling now, free falling now. Free falling now, free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. Oh! Free falling now, free falling, free falling, falling now, free falling. I'm
So that was, I think maybe his. I don't know. I'm not gonna say his biggest hit, but it was certainly one of the ones that people can identify with most. of
Yeah,
the time.
everybody knows that song.
But what I was gonna say was during the song, I took a look around and stumbled on this article. It was a 2016 interview with Billboard. He was sharing the story behind some of it about free falling.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So anyway, here's how it goes. It says Jeff Lynne and I were sitting around with the idea of writing a song, and I was playing the keyboard, and I just happened to hit on the main riff, the intro of the song, and I think Jeff said something like, "That's a really good riff, but there's one chord too many." So he said, I think I cut it back a chord, and then really just to amuse Jeff, honestly, I just sang the first verse. Then he starts laughing, and honestly, I thought it was just amusing him. But when I got to the chorus of the song, and he leaned over to me, he said the word "free falling," and I went to sing that, and he said, "No, take up your voice up an octave or two to see how that feels." And so I did, but I couldn't get the whole word in, so I sang "free," then "free falling," and we both knew at that moment that I hit on something pretty good, and it was just that fast. He said Jeff had to go somewhere, and he said I wrote the last verse and kind of just polished it the rest of the song, and then I saw him the next day and I played him the song, and he was like, "Wow, did you do that last night?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, we've got this cut, and I think we've got ourselves a hit." And he said, "So we went and cut the record that day."
So he's not really writing lyrics from like a personal place, I guess.
I don't know. That's just.
He's just writing.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that was just like, at least that's what he told the interviewer, or that was what the interviewer,
I mean, some people can do that, just write and it not be really anything personal.
I'm sure at some point in your life, if you're a band over the arc of the life of, 40 years or whatever that band was doing it. And I imagine you do write some songs that are just like, how would that feel? Let me put myself in that position. Because at some point, I would imagine the experiences that you have are not new.
Yeah, that's true.
Anymore. I don't know. I mean,
And I feel like that's just the mark of a good writer, to be able to write from a place that's like third party or imaginative.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's what that article said. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to check out his work, he's I think he's pretty easy to get along with, and he's just kind of one of those musical people that can cross over to a lot of genres.
Who is?
Jeff Lynne.
Oh, okay.
ELO.
Okay, yep, ELO.
I think that's the first time that I ever saw a this was 100 years ago, in the little town that we lived in. Well, I didn't even live in that town. I was in North Florida. But I came up to Dothan, and I saw them at the Civic Center.
That's funny.
And it's the first time I ever saw a laser.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I think it was Jeff Lynne. He had it strapped to his wrist. And
he was like shooting it that way?
He shot it up at the disco ball.
That is so funny.
And it flooded the place.
Well, that's cool. They thought that was high tech then,
Oh,
I'm sure.
man, we thought that was like freaking science fiction. Or something. I don't know. But, that was, it was a green light. And so they were like, "Are you kidding me? This is up a notch."
That's funny.
So what's your second offering of on the Pity podcast?
I think I'll go with You Wreck Me.
Okay, let's play You Wreck Me.
Tonight we right or wrong. Tonight we sail on a radio song. Rescue me, should I go down
Okay, that was You Wreck Me.
Yeah, what'd you think about
I
it?
liked it.
You do? Have you heard that one
I
before?
really never listened to that one either.
Really? It's a great album. There's a lot of winners on
A
it.
lot of people say that about that album.
Really?
Yeah, I noticed while I was surfing on some social media, probably YouTube, George Strait covered that song.
Oh,
Isn't
really?
that weird?
That is weird. I'll have to listen to that.
I haven't listened to it, but it's just so weird to see somebody as country, kind of country and western, I guess you'd say, as George Strait cover that song.
I love that, though. I love, like, crossing genres with music.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes you find some pretty great things.
Mm-hmm. You really do.
Well, I'd like to, for my second offering.
Oh, let me add, I did read that originally that was named You Rock Me, and that the band was like, okay, the song's good, but the title's just too generic. And then he changed it to Wreck, and it just totally changed the whole song.
Isn't that crazy? Words, man, words.
Words, man.
They can change everything, I guess. They're just words. The next one you may not have heard, and I actually stumbled on it. Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Oh, you didn't know that
Yeah,
before?
but I never really gave it any listen. I mean, really.
That was every fraternity party
Oh,
I
really?
ever went to. Every party played that song.
Really?
Yes. I can't believe you hadn't heard it, really.
The thing that occurs to me sometimes when you hear people sing, and you think, in this case, the early demise of Tom Petty, there's going to be people that look into his catalog now and they're going to want to remake some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But
they can never do it as good or anywhere
no,
close.
but sometimes when you have the right people doing it, if it's not just one person doing it, right, where you bring in a true fans that happen to sing. And who I thought would do this song justice, oddly enough, was
Who?
Alabama Shakes.
Yeah, I can
When
see
you
that.
listen to Mary Jane's Last Dance, think about it with as what Alabama Shakes may do with this song, because she's got such an interesting voice that I think
Yeah.
it would add to this.
Okay, I'll keep
So
that
this
in
is
mind.
Mary Jane's Last Dance. Give it a listen.
She grew up in an Indiana town, had a good-looking mama who never was around, but she grew up tall and she grew up right with them Indiana boys on an Indiana night. But she moved down here at the age of 18. She blew the boys away, it was more than they'd seen. I was introduced and we both started grooving. She said, I dig you, baby, but I got to keep moving on. Keep moving on. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. Well, I don't know, but I've been told you never slow down, you never grow old. I'm tired of screwing up, I'm tired of going down, I'm tired of myself, I'm tired of this town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Honey, put on that party dress, buy me a drink, sing me a song, take me as I come, cause I can't stay long. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. this town again. There's pigeons down on Market Square. She's standing in her underwear, looking down from a hotel room. The nightfall will be coming soon. Oh my, oh hell yes. You got to put on that party dress. It was too cold to cry when I woke up alone. I hit my last number, I walked to the road. Last dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again.
So what do you think of that?
I mean, I have heard that song
I bet you have.
million times, and I have never watched the video. That is a weird.
It is a weird video, isn't it?
It's funny though. He's funny, and he's good music video actor. But at the end, when she opens her eyes, does that mean she's alive?
I didn't know. Was her eyes open, or did she pop them open at the end like he did when he started off the thing? Okay.
She
I thought they
popped
were
her
just
eyes
open and she was
open.
just floating to the top like that.
Well, that's why I couldn't tell, because she didn't blink. But then it was like if she opened them, it's like she was faking dead the whole time. I don't know.
That was
anyway,
Kim
weird
Basinger.
video. Okay.
Are you familiar with her? Okay.
No.
The thing that I thought of before I saw the video and before I heard the song, I remember thinking, was that written? Because I don't know when that was written. And Mary Jane used to be I guess a slang term for marijuana. So.
Right. Which I read that he didn't even think
okay.
about that when he wrote it. He was just
Okay.
thinking of
Well,
the
I didn't
girl's
know.
name.
But can you imagine Alabama Shanks doing that? Oh my.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
see
I can
her-
definitely hear
her do
that.
On that one.
Yeah.
And that's such a weird song because of many aspects. But there's a portion there that sounds a little bit Bob Dylan-ish, because of the harmonica and just the way it's written. And then there's a portion in there that sounds like the Beatles to me.
Well, if he was playing with George Harrison
Yeah.
and Bob Dylan, then he
I
probably
guess.
definitely picked up on
I
different
guess.
things like that.
So what's your next offering for the Pity podcast?
My last one is "You Don't Know How It Feels," which I love
You do?
this song.
Is this your favorite one of the
Yes.
ones that you chose?
I mean, gosh, I like all of them. I love Wildflowers. This is a great one though. This one and Wildflowers are just such different sounds. So, I like them for different
Let's give it a
reasons.
listen, see what you think.
tonight I'll take you on a moonlight ride. There's someone I used to see, but she don't give a damn for me. But let me get to the point. Let's roll another joint and turn the radio loud. I'm too alone to be proud, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me. People come, people go. Some grow young, some grow cold. I woke up in between a memory and a dream. So let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road. There's somewhere I gotta go, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me. My old man was born to rock. He's still trying to beat the clock. Think of me what you will. I've got a little space to fill. So let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road. There's somewhere I gotta go, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me.
Okay, so that was You Don't Know How I Feel by Tom Petty. Or You Don't
It
Know
Feels,
How
yeah.
It Feels.
Um,
Yeah, How It Feels. What do you
oh,
think?
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
heard that one
I've
before?
heard all of them. It's just that he has
Oh, okay.
such a large catalog, and like I say, for a while it was
I
just
know.
Tom Petty all the time, and so you
Right.
kind of turn it
Kinda
off
turned it
mentally
off.
when you start hearing a Tom Petty song, but because there's certain common beats throughout almost all the Tom Petty songs. It's just what happens when you write all these songs and you find what works for you and your personality comes through.
Right.
But, yeah, I remember that song and like it a lot. I remember when they first started playing it back when MTV came on the air. And MTV would change that wording of that song.
Well, I read that they asked him to change the wording, and so he said hit a
Yeah,
joint
that's what
instead
he
of roll a joint, which kind of takes.
Well, I
it
think
still
the way
doesn't
the way they
help
pitched that
them.
was like hit another joint like a place. And so that's kind of I think the way they thought they were getting by. You know.
Gotcha.
It's weird how
That's funny.
all that has changed. You know, now you can say practically anything, but
yeah.
then there were still standards of some sort, whether good or bad. They were the standards.
Right.
So for my third Petty podcast choice, Pettycast.
Pettycast.
I like the Pettycast better.
Pettycast.
Would be Breakdown. Are you familiar with
Breakdown?
that song?
I feel like I know it, but not well.
Well, when you hear it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that song a lot of times."
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
I don't remember, anything about it as far as did he write it or anyone else, but it's been a standard for a long time. So let's give it a listen.
All right, here's Breakdown.
It's alright if you love me. It's alright if you don't. I'm not afraid of you running away, honey. I get the feeling you won't. There is no sense in pretending. Your eyes give you away. Something inside you is feeling like I do. Is it all there is to say? Baby, break down. Go ahead, give it to me. Break down, honey, take me through the night. Break down, now I'm standing here. Can you see? Break down, it's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Break down, go ahead, give it to me. Break down, honey, take me through the night. Break down, now I'm standing here, can you see? Break down, it's alright. It's alright. It's alright.
What'd you think?
I've definitely heard that, but I feel like I've heard it more in like songs and movies and stuff, as opposed to just, in TV shows and movies, as opposed to just listening to it.
That was like a big hit at the time. Yeah.
Really, it sounds so much like Aerosmith.
It
"Do
kind of
Look
it's
Like
got
a
some
Woman"
similar
to me.
stuff to it. I was just reading while
Yeah.
we were talking, while we were listening to it, that his guitarist wrote this one. Wrote the music. Petty added the
really?
lyrics.
Maybe that's why it's a little bit different sound.
And it said that it was a 4-track. They made it his house. Yeah,
Really?
instead
What's
of
that
8
mean,
or
4-track?
16 track, it's just the way they recorded it. Just the way
Oh.
they used to record it. But
Gotcha.
interesting, huh? Said that they recorded it. They must have recorded it 100 times.
I need to listen to it more because I'm not as big of a
Yeah.
fan of it
Well,
right now as
it's
I am with others.
Totally kind of an electric thing. That was I think it was from that. I think it was from
Yeah.
the album "Damn the Torpedoes" or that tour. Damn the Torpedoes. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't remember. I think that they had a big deal, like, and I think that was about that time. Tom Petty, the record label he was singing for or was obligated to, sold to like a bigger music business. I can't remember who they sold. I think it was about that time, because he did a thing that was like totally unprecedented. Because it turns out, when they signed their deal, when they were a new group, they signed a really egregious deal. Like it was, I think as he explained it, he said, the way that it worked was that even though we were a successful band, no matter how successful we were, we would never be able to pay back the money that they had fronted us to make the albums.
I feel like so many
and so what
are
he
like
did,
that.
which had never been done, I don't think, in the music business at that time, was there was a little clause in the contract that said that if you sell, like if the label that he had signed with, if they were selling it to someone else, then the group could get out of their contract if they proved that it was a bad contract. They had to agree to who they were selling to, and so he did that. And he said, he got death threats. He got a lot of things that they.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
How'd he prove it?
He proved that because they told him that they would not sign. They would not record his albums unless he signed over publishing rights, and it was under duress. He thought publishing rights really at that time meant, oh, you're going to put it in a songbook, not that all the. That they owned his songs, from then on, and so he would never get any royalties. Yeah,
That's
well,
what
he was
he
new. He was
thought.
young, and his manager kind of,
Right.
was either taking advantage of or was complicit in it. Anyway, so he went, and plus if he could prove that it was costing him, and that he could never pay it back, then he could file bankruptcy, and he did, and that got him out of that deal. MCA came to him and said, what if we give you all the royalties back and blah, 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 blah. Would you do it then? He said, okay. But that was a landmark thing because then all these other groups did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they still do that. They just,
They
screw
do.
bands over sometimes.
And it's just such a shame because it's kind of the chicken or the egg. You wouldn't be able to do this without this group's original songs and original presence or original voice or whatever, and you wouldn't be able to record it if you didn't have them. But I think that's changed quite a bit today because there's a lot more methods for people to record their stuff with today. And
Right. And once people have a name for themselves, they're able to market themselves a little better.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah.
initial push. And then once they're out of that contract, a
yeah,
lot
you
of
can
them
do
go
that
out on
today.
their
Well, back
own.
then you really couldn't.
A
do
lot
it. You
lately
couldn't do that.
happened. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that they did that. I remember at the time him sitting. I think he said he was sitting in a room full of people. He didn't say it. Or somebody else that was there said he was sitting in a room full of all these lawyers, all these big wigs, telling him he didn't have any power. He didn't have any financial power. He couldn't do anything about it. And somebody said Tom Petty just pulled out a little penknife and started cleaning his nails, and the guy that was telling it said it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen because they really thought that here's this guy. He said he really didn't care. Because he told him, he said, "I'll go sell peanuts before I'll do another album, and you own my words."
Good for him.
And he said, and he meant
good
it.
for him.
And they thought he meant it. And so he said they decided that better to make some money off of him than no money. So
Yeah.
good for you, Tom Petty, and
Yeah, good for you, Tom Petty. Stand up to the man.
Now it's R.I.P. Tom Petty. Crazy.
Yeah. Hard to believe.
It really is.
Really
This
hard
is
to
a
believe.
year that there's been some major folks.
I know. Well, so even with Greg Allman, as sad as that was, everybody knew he was sick. Everybody knew, he was canceling stuff. But Tom Petty, I mean, he had just gotten off tour and he was just young and just no signs anything was wrong. And it's just all of a sudden. And then it was just so messed up the way nobody really knew if he was dead
Yeah,
yet.
that
And they
was
just
messed up.
jumped at it and reported it. It was really messed up.
Your mom said, so your mom said that, because she's a Gator, she said that he was, I think she'd read it somewhere or something, maybe you have too, that he was this is going to be his last tour for a while because
Yes.
he had a granddaughter
Yes.
and he was looking to spend a lot of time with.
Exactly. How sad is that?
Yeah. You just never know,
Yeah, you never know.
And maybe there should be a lesson to all of us there. I do remember, just as a fun fact, when I was watching that, I guess that docudrama or that drama or that documentary about Tom Petty, was at one point he said, like all bands, you just get, you've been together a long time. You get into where you fight over stupid things like who took the last box of cereal.
They were getting to that. Are you saying in the documentary it said that?
Yeah, he said it. He was like, in his interview, it was like, you get to the point where it's like you fight over stuff like who took the last box of cereal, damn it, and you start fighting. He said, like really physically fighting over who took the last box of cereal when that's
oh my
nothing.
Gosh. That's funny. Yeah, that's when you need to come off the road for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you've had a little too much togetherness, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was really just quite illuminating. But these guys and these gals that do these bands sometimes, and you don't even realize it when you're watching them, because you get used to them being around so much, and they're just accessible to you at any time. You don't realize the things behind the story, which would make them greater to you had you known about it prior to. That.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, like, how did you form the band? How did you keep the band together? How did you write these songs? What were you thinking? What was the drama behind the scenes that nobody really knew about at the time? Yeah,
you're right. So all of that's kind of in the documentary?
A lot of it is, yeah. And there's other interviews and documentaries you can watch when he's gotten older and he has more perspective, and I think he was a bit of a hothead when he was younger, like a lot of people are, and and I think he's gained perspective from that when he was doing interviews.
I'm good. I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's worthwhile.
I'm good.
Well, so this has been. Why don't you sign us out?
All right. Well, this has been episode 14.
It's 14.
I think 14, yeah. Family Music Hour. We've enjoyed doing the Pettycast. I hate to have to say goodbye to such a great artist. Feels like too soon, but really thankful that he has such awesome work to leave behind that we can always listen to and talk about and always come back to.
Yeah, let's not do any more RIP cast this year. Okay, so none of you guys can die this year.
I know. Willie Nelson's coming to Tuscaloosa next week, and I'm like wanting to go see him because you never know with Willie.
I know. God, Willie's got to be. He's past 80, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Jesus, he's
still going.
I think he's just held together by reefer smoke at this point.
I mean, really, or it's like a Paul McCartney, like a body double or something at this point.
That's another one that's shockingly. Paul still looks like he would be pretty cool to hang out. Well, both of them do.
Yeah.
Willie probably has some stories.
But I love the Paul McCartney body double conspiracy theories.
I'm not familiar with those.
You're not. That you need to get into it. That there's this whole conspiracy theory thing. You can go down the rabbit hole of that Paul McCartney died a long time ago, and that this is just a body double, and that it's
Is it because he looks so good or what?
I can't remember. No, I mean, there's just all these different pieces of like that there was a car wreck or something. I don't know. You need to go and read about it.
I didn't know that. Has that been out there a long time?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, well, it's so weird because while we were talking, I was just referencing the ages. Yeah, Willie Nelson's 84.
Yeah, I bet.
Paul McCartney's 75.
He's only 75?
I
thought he was
know.
older.
Well, to me, he looks great. He's got like hair.
Oh, he does look great. I'm sure he's probably had a little bit of help. Maybe he sold his soul to the devil. Maybe that's why.
I mean, I don't know. He just doesn't strike me as the type that has a lot of vanity, but maybe he does. And Willie Nelson, I mean, gosh, 84 years old.
84, and he's still touring.
And if you ever watch any of his young stuff or his old stuff, like when he was trying to make it in the country music biz, and he was wearing
Definitely
like
turtlenecks.
three-piece suits, and had short hair, and he looked really was not a. Willie looks better with the long hair and the
it fits him,
kerchief
the
and
beard and all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
does.
fits him more.
Yeah. Okay, so this is sorry to get off topic, guys, but we're we just love music and hope you do too. And so we're going to sign out. So goodbye from us here from the 14th episode. So we'll see you next time.